May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Touch our ears that we might hear, our minds that we might understand, our hearts that we may believe and receive the things that you shall say to us now. Charge us, challenge us, and encourage us that our exit will be better than our entrance. In Jesus' name, amen. Please be seated. The lesson is taken from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verses 1 through 10. I'm reading from the Message translation. You'll follow the translation that's on the monitor and those in your Bibles and devices. And here begins the reading of God's Word. God's kingdom is like 10 young virgins who took oil lamps and went out to greet the bridegroom. 5 were silly, and 5 were smart. The silly virgins took lamps, but no extra oil. The smart virgins took jars of oil to feed their lamps. The bridegroom didn't show up when they expected him, and they all fell asleep. In the middle of the night, someone yelled out, "He's here. The bridegroom's here. Go out and greet him." The 10 virgins got up and got their lamps ready. The silly virgins said to the smart ones, "Our lamps are going out. Lend us some of your oil." They answered, "There might not be enough. Go buy your own." They did, but while they were out buying oil, the bridegroom arrived. When everyone was there to greet him had gone into the wedding feast, the door was locked. The word of the Lord. Being selfish was for a long time thought as being negative. Most of us, if not all of us, have been taught to live in the philosophy of putting others before yourself. It was thought to be the right thing to do. It's the considerate and kind thing to do. It's what decent, respectable human beings do, put everything and everyone and all things before yourself. Now, I would raise the question here today, how's that worked out for you? Or has it worked for you? Have you been left empty-handed and with empty pockets and emotionally depleted? This, more often than not, is what happens to someone who gives away everything that they need to keep for themselves. The text is a parable about wise and foolish, or as the Message Bible says, silly and smart folk. Those who had prepared themselves for the moment in life, and those who missed their time and opportunity and motivation to be ready for this moment in life. This gives us to know that being selfish in a healthy manner can be a good thing. The foolish, the silly, will always want to borrow, beg, and sometimes steal. Just to get by. I know we got company. I'm trying. But the wise know what to do, and to give away and what to hold on to. And for the time that is mine today, I want to talk to you from the subject, don't give it away. The World English Dictionary defines selfish as being chiefly concerned with one's own interest, advantage, especially to the total exclusion of the interest of others. Each of us knows someone like that, or at one time or another have been the someone like that. You know, the kind of individual who wants what they want any way they can get it. The cost or sacrifice to others really does not matter. The horror of this and about these individuals is that as long as someone will give, they will take. And as long as they can get, they will continue to take. More concerning is when the source runs out, they move on to the next somebody who will give until they too have depleted themselves. Selfish people take advantage of people who feel they need to be needed. Someone who wants to feel good about giving and sacrificing themselves for others. The sad thing about this is that as long as you are giving out and there's nothing coming in, eventually you will dry up and dry out. There comes a point where you have to stop giving away what you need to keep for yourself. Every one of us at some time on our journey needs to be selfish. I addressed a group of preachers 2 weeks ago in Texas. I was asked to speak on self-care. And so in the surveys that was handed out, questions were asked. Do you know how much you weigh? Are you overweight? I said a bunch of preachers, so you kind of get the... Are you at a healthy weight? Are you underweight? What's your blood pressure? Is it within normal limits? When's the last time you weighed yourself? How often do you walk around the block? And so someone sitting next to me said, ask the question, how often do you walk? Ask the question. Okay. And so, family histories. Do you have a positive family history for diabetes, heart disease, mental illness? It was about like that then, too, just as quiet and silent. Because many folk have secrets in their family, the things that you don't tell the next generation to the next generation. Secrets are the things that make us sick, and sometimes the things that make us sick often kill us. There was the burnout survey, about 30 points there to ask, do you feel this, do you feel that, do you feel the other? There were 1 or 2 people that put down 0, I don't feel any of these things. And my response to that is, all of us have been under stress at one point or time or the other. There's good stress and there's bad stress. But living in chronic stress is not a good thing. And sometimes you have stressful people in your life that you need to let them go. Trust me, if you let them go, they'll go. If you let them, they'll. You are free to go. The other point is so many people have lived under stress so long, they don't know that they are stressed. And so the issue of self-care is also the point of being selfish. And not to the extent of sacrificing others, but to the point of saving ourselves. The truth is, you are of no use or value to anyone else until you have taken care of yourself first. I know this is a contradiction that when we have what we have been told our lives, others first and yourself last. But time and experience have testified that those who keep giving and don't receive will dry up and then one day will die out. The 10 virgins are waiting for the bridegroom to come, and the parable is taken from the customs and practices of the day of a wedding celebration that went on for a few days. The community would wait for the bridegroom to come to get his bride, and the wedding party and invited guests had to be ready and waiting because at any time the announcement could be made, the bridegroom is coming, go on out to meet him. And so those in the wedding party would keep their lamps trimmed and burning. And this meant that when the call was made, they would not have to stumble about in the darkness of night looking for light and getting ready for the processional. The bridegroom would enter the community and slow down just enough to catch up his bride. And there could be no getting ready, but those going into the celebration had to be ready. What's it like waiting for someone you told to be ready at a certain time? You show up, and they act surprised that you were coming. Full disclosure and a confession, I have left folk. You'll pray for me, I know you will. And I don't know if your praying is going to change anything, because I'd rather give you my money than to have you to waste my time. And so if I told you 3 days ago I'm coming today to get you, you had 3 days to fix your hair, find your shoes. You had 3 times to change your mind about your outfit and get a right one. You had enough time to find your way downstairs and be in front of your house at the time I told you to be there. Yeah, you pray for me. I know you will. A few times you leave a few folk. Next time you tell them to be ready, they'll be outside way in advance. In bright colors, so make sure you don't miss them. It's not a good feeling to wait for somebody that you told to be ready. How interesting, just one more point. You know, weddings and funerals here start on time. You know, because once the guest of honor for a funeral is here, we keep moving. We tell brides and bridegrooms both. We have it in writing. We will give you 10 minutes grace to get here. 15, you've lost all mercy. After a quarter past, they start charging you $50 every half an hour for being late. And then here's my agreement. 1 hour and 15 minutes late, you'll need to find somebody else to marry you. You had a whole year to find a dress, find a veil, and find a groom. You had time to tell your mama and your daddy, get here on time. I'm just saying. Because it don't take all day to get you married. Okay. How interesting that these wise virgins were motivated to use their time and opportunity to make sure that their lamps would not run out of oil while waiting for the call. Those who were silly, the foolish, took their lamps but not enough oil to make it through the wait. And so they didn't have enough in their vessels to be ready for the call. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. It would seem here that the foolish, the silly, should have been motivated to take advantage of time and opportunity to be ready. The bridegroom was delayed in coming, which would have allowed them time to get what they needed for themselves to be ready for the midnight cry. Here's the first point that we need to observe here. Don't let time pass you by. Here is the thinking of the foolish. I can sleep now, and when it's time to get up, I'll start out early and play catch up. I can run fast enough to go get some oil and be back in time for the wedding. Or I can just borrow from those who have extra. Well, let me say it like this. It's the person that sits up all night watching TV, playing video games, on Facebook, Instagram, and social media, keeping up with all the social communication, the person who just surfs the web, the person who should have laid out and ironed their clothes before going to bed so that they could be ready to do just what was necessary in the morning, to be on time for work, for school, for church, and commitments for the day. For church and for commitments for the day. For church and commitments for the day. Foolish is the person who just wastes time and misses the opportunity to be ready when life happens. You see, time lost can rarely be regained. Time is valuable, precious, and priceless. I would rather give you my money than to have you to waste my time. I can get more money, but I can't get my time back. Don't give away time that you need to keep for yourself. Don't waste your time on people who have no dreams, visions, or aspirations. People who can't see or are not preparing for their future. Don't waste your time praying and fasting and interceding for folk who won't assert themselves in God or in life. The bridegroom was delayed, and the foolish had time to get what they needed for themselves. Don't give away time that you need to use for yourself. Secondly, the second thing is the foolish didn't do was take advantage of opportunity. Everyone was asleep. They could have gotten what they needed without having to negotiate through a crowd or conflict, without distraction or interruption. How many people do you know have missed an opportunity because when they should have been preparing, they were sleeping? How about those who have gotten up early and overslept, missed their opportunity? How about those who waited until 11:59 to do in a minute or at the last minute what they should have been doing all the time? The bridegroom was delayed and the others who were ready slept. What a favorable moment to get what you need without distraction or interruption. An opportunity is God's expression of favor. Delay never means that you have been denied, and I would challenge you to see delay in a different perspective. Some things are held up or delayed so you can take advantage of the opportunity to be ready for what's next. Let me say it like this. Your wealth may have been delayed, but not denied, but put on hold so you can have a plan to get out of debt and to stay out of debt. You should have said, yeah, all right. You need to see delay as an opportunity to get ready, to be ready, and to stay ready for what God has in store for you. And when God begins moving things and people out of your way, that is not a time for you to relax and sleep. It's time for you to assert yourself in prayer and in fasting and in planning for what God has prepared for you. Don't give away your opportunity. Use it. Lastly, the foolish lost their motivation because they may have thought that they had time, and the incentive to be ready was somehow diminished or lost. Perhaps they thought they had more time because of the delay, or the delay lessened their incentive to be ready. Perhaps they thought that the wise virgins at the last minute would have compassion on them and give away what they needed to keep for themselves. They seemed to have lost interest or desire to be ready for the midnight cry and the bridegroom's coming. Their oil ran out and lamps were going dim. And maybe they thought their limited supply would stretch until the midnight cry was made. Let me just ask you this. Do you know people who drive on empty? Because they think they have a little more left than what the gas gauge is actually reading. It don't really mean it's as empty as it's empty. Do you know, or have you met people who stretch out the very last they have because they just won't go get what they need? The kind of person who puts a little water in the dishwashing liquid, stretching it out cause, or the person who keeps going and going and going until almost passed out and are just like that empty gas tank running on fumes. There are times when we can be weary in being diligent, vigilant, committed, and faithful. Sometimes you really don't want to be depended upon. Some delays and missed opportunities can diminish your incentive to hang in there. Sometimes it feels like it's too long. The Epistle to the Hebrews, chapter 10, has an encouraging message to those who are tempted to give away their motivation. Therefore, do not cast away your confidence, which has great reward. For you have need of endurance, so that after you have done the will of God, you may receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he who is coming will come and will not tarry. Now the just shall live by faith. But if anyone draws back, my soul has no pleasure in him. But we are not of those who draw back to perdition, but of those who believe in the saving of the soul. What should have been their incentive? What should have been their motivation? Even though the wise were sleeping, the lamps were trimmed and burning, and all knew that the bridegroom would come at any moment. And when he would come through, there would be no time or opportunity to get ready or to make preparations for his arrival. They knew that he would slow down just enough to catch up his bride, and those who are ready would go in. The custom in that time is once the guest of honor had arrived and entered the banquet hall, the door would be shut and the latecomers would not be allowed in. Lord, help us here. It's a good thing your job don't run like that. And it's a good thing church don't run like that. This alone should have been motivation for the foolish to keep their lamps trimmed and burning. It should have been the incentive for them to keep a supply ready and available. Even the bridegroom tarried, and it was certain that he was coming. I want to close this witness and say to you, being selfish is not a bad thing, especially when you need to help yourself first so you can be of value to someone else. Each time I'm on a flight from New York or back to New York, the message from the flight attendant is always the same. No matter the airline, no matter the aircraft, where you are seated, the message is always the same. Here's just a piece of it. You know how it starts. In the unlikely event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, yellow mask will deploy from the ceiling compartment located above you. To secure, pull the mask towards you. Secure the elastic strap to your head and fasten it so it covers your mouth and your nose. Breathe normally. Even if the bag does not inflate, please keep in mind that oxygen is flowing. Please make sure to secure your own mask before assisting others. What a thought. You need to be breathing before you can help somebody else breathe. I want to encourage you here in this church house, before you help someone else, take time to take care of you. Don't give away your peace. Don't give away your joy. Don't give away your blessings. Don't give away your time. Don't miss your opportunity. Don't lose your motivation. Don't give away to folk who sleep when they should be using their time. Don't give away what you have. Don't give away to folk who miss their opportunity and want to misuse and abuse yours. Don't lose your motivation to folk who wait until the last minute. And in these last days, you will need the attitude of the wise virgins. We can't give you our oil because there won't be enough for us. Feel safe, feel sound, feel secure in saying to them, go get your own oil. Don't give away what you need to keep for yourself.